I'm back. It's been a while. Um, I've just been on a bit of a hiatus lately. I went through some stuff and it was really hard to do with more discrimination. I thought maybe it was getting closer to being over at this point, but apparently not. So, yeah, I think I I think it's I really want to be honest about what I went through and what brought me to this place. And the stereotype of Asperger's almost makes me feel like I can't be or something, but I think it's just because of the societal view of what it is and the fact that most people get diagnosed younger so they know um, what's up and they don't get involved in the wrong crowds. That's not everybody, though. There's a lot of people out there that are unknowingly Aspies and are going through a lot of crap, including people with addiction issues and mental health issues. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all Aspies, or they're not all Aspies, but a certain number of them are Aspies and don't know that that's what's triggering them. I just posted a blog on my newest blog, It's Not Okay. And in that blog, I described in more detail the things that I went through when I was younger. I really didn't know that I was performing so much. I had come to be lying to myself about pretending to be normal. It got to that point, and I guess that's why now, like now, I can't do it anymore, and I'm too tired to do it as well. Like I've been having a lot of flare-ups lately, and I've been spending a lot of time and energy thinking about how I'm going to heal and what it's going to take, what's needed. A lot of those things are not covered by my disability or anything like that, so it's frustrating because I need certain specialized types of chiropractic and not even a regular chiropractor, like a specialized one. Preferably like specialized massage and working really hard to do physio exercises to strengthen things like that. A lot of work with healing my gut, so no more coffee. And that sucks, but I really shouldn't be drinking coffee. I do love my coffee, but I have to be careful with carbohydrates because they spike me up and make me crash, and it's going to have to be really specialized. And at one point, I was on a roll with that until I lost hope because I couldn't communicate properly with my doctors. Or, it's not even just the communication, it's just the system as well. The way that it's designed, it's not very helpful for people with rare or autoimmune kinds of like issues. So, not only that, but they often have to pretend that those things don't exist and let people just suffer and feel like crap because they don't want to admit what they don't know. I got in real trouble for like opening my mouth and trying to talk about some of my issues. When I gave up and got too much into like unhealthy stuff and medications, and I tried to say that I needed more support, it just got worse, and I thought it would get better. So um, I'm dealing with a lot right now, and it doesn't seem to make much sense because I feel like I've dealt with enough and I just want to get on with it. And now I have to deal with the current situation. So, what I said in my blog was that, in the It's Not Okay blog, was that I had requested all my old psych records and things like that because I went through a period of time when I was between 18 and, or just 18 and 19, a couple years where I was really losing it. And part of the reason why it was so bad is because I was given an antidepressant and I reacted really, really poorly to it, and nobody could seem to see that that was the cause. I actually figured it out on my own only after a lot of damage had been done, and I was very lucky to have pulled through that. Always had a bit of an impulse control problem with behavior and how I felt and emotional regulation, but I'd always, be able to know how to put the brakes on it and cover it up or self-regulate a bit. But when I started taking those antidepressants, it took that away from me. And I think it's because a lot of people with Asperger's, particularly women, have like not bipolar disorder, but a bipolar chemistry. So SSRI antidepressants would be really bad for that. They would make the person manic and as a result impulsive. So I ended up hanging out with a lot of the wrong kinds of people that were really bad, and I didn't know they were using me and um, messing with me and exposing me to things that um, I had really, really poor decision making abilities. And like I said, I was really immature at that time, and I wish, somebody would have stepped in sooner. When I was 19, my parents were actually concerned. People, like my parents were concerned, my family was concerned, and they kept calling the cops and stuff, and they were like, well, sorry, she's 19. We can't stop her from doing what she wants. And I ended up in the hospital like a few times, and a couple of times it was like near death, and they would just dismiss me again and be like, oh yeah, she's just going to continue on her medication, and they would give me really silly diagnoses, misdiagnoses. Um, Although one had said adjustment disorder, which was actually getting close to the real thing. And that same clinician had done a brief screening for autism, said something about uh, her eye contact's fine, her volume modulation seems normal. And of course, he was looking for really obvious signs. He probably didn't look very closely, probably wasn't trained to. So it was really silly because I had to sort of snap out of it myself. And part of it was that I met my husband, and I was at the end of my rope, anyways. I was trying to get away from people that I shouldn't have been around, and that were giving me all kinds of, all kinds of pills and drugs and whatever, a lot of dabbling, a lot of craziness, but it's not even who I am. Self-medicating had always been like a way to deal with all these sensory issues and all this social confusion and all the overwhelming changes that were going on in my life constantly. I had a really disruptive adolescence, disruptive late childhood. My mother was sick with cancer when I was 14. I couldn't see my dad for a period of time, and then when I moved back in, I was already working. I started working kind of too young, and I needed to earn some money, and I'd always pretend to understand in jobs, and I didn't understand the training. I'd have to just watch people afterwards, and it was a lot of stress. Some jobs, I know I never really held one job for that long. I'd kind of bounce around, all kinds of, fast food, retail, cleaning, that type of thing. I could kind of scrape by, but, it was stressful because I would just have to copy other people, pretend to understand until I got it in my own way. So, a lot of pretending to understand. I actually didn't even understand that I didn't understand, and then, I'd put on an act of, oh yeah, for sure, like, blah, 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 or whatever, and then, seemed kind of, I don't know, ditzy, nice girl, and people would treat me like I was stupid because I would be obvious that I wouldn't get things at first, and I'd have to be shown again or whatever, and, I was immature, and I was desperate for people to like me, so I guess all those things gave off the impression that I was a lot dumber than I really am. When I don't get things because of my processing, sometimes I do feel stupid, but now at least I know that it's because of my processing and nothing to do with my actual intelligence, because I think I'm pretty strong in some areas, but again, my learning abilities, learning differences baffle me at times, but I'm getting to know them better. Although after having missed them for an entire life, it's something that takes a while to learn. Um, I'm not like, I almost feel like at least part of my health condition is because I have burnout. Um, even after I had kids, like we moved to a different city and there was so much to take on that it felt like I was being thrown into a deep ocean and I was just grabbing onto driftwood and, just trying to stay afloat, paddling vigorously. Um, I don't actually remember the details of when my kids were babies and we were in the suburbs of Vancouver. It was very stressful. Nelson, my husband, was trying very hard to earn money, McDonald's, and then freelance bookkeeping at times. And I was having some difficulty with postpartum depression, but I didn't want to talk about it because if you talk about it, it's like I'd be afraid that somebody would take it the wrong way. And never had any intention to hurt my babies, ever, and not even an intention. I just wouldn't do it. So it was hard because I was just trying to keep keep up with keep up with everything, and I wish I'd had some sort of help, and I craved like a mother figure or aunt or somebody to come in and like help me with the baby, and I never had that. It was really hard because I felt alone, um, and overwhelmed, and I would often drown it out. So I always, unfortunately, had a habit of misusing alcohol, and of course, not in the daytime, but after my kids were in bed at night, we'd have drinks often, and in the end, it was so often that it was becoming a concern. So I had to cut myself off, and when I did that, that's when I started to really discover. When I went without having this crutch and that crutch, and this strategy and that strategy, and a lot of that revolved around drinking at night, although it wasn't all to do with drinking. Some of it was, looking good on the outside, and, my body image, and, um, you know, caffeine, and this, this pill and that pill, like Thermoburn, or, sometimes pain medication, because I did have a lot of pain issues for a long time, and I never really knew why. I constantly had headaches, and that was because I was grinding my teeth really, really hard in the night, and I didn't have a night guard or anything. And it was obviously, it's a result of my alignment. My alignment's off. I have like a huge overjet, but also because of the stress. So I was going really fast, and I was performing really fast. I was working part-time and pretending to be outgoing, but then I'd go home and wouldn't really make a lot of phone calls unless I had to, and kind of shut down. That's kind of what goes on now. So the thing about Asperger's, as Rudy Simone calls it, is that they don't want to be seen as defective, so they'll work really hard to cover up and mask their issues, especially when they don't know what's going on with them. So that's what was happening with me, and I kind of feel like I ended up crashing. And when I stopped, drinking often at night, 4 or 5 nights a week, when I stopped doing that, or self-medicating in other ways with other strategies, that's when I noticed my real issues. And they weren't what they seemed, because they seemed like some sort of mood thing or anxiety covered up, but underneath it was clear that there were processing issues and sensory issues and adjustment issues and all that kind of thing. So it's really interesting how it all came out, and I'm not the only one that has this kind of story. A lot of women who are discovering that they're Aspies have been through similar things. I don't know if everyone has battered their body as badly as I did and crashed physically almost before, you know, discovering what was going on. But that's where I was at. And what's really interesting is you would think that there was more battle once I figured out that I'm an Aspie and that I wanted to, you know, get a diagnosis and get some help and services and get, unfortunately, apply for disability because of the Aspie stuff, but also the physical stuff. There was like tons more legwork to do. And then on top of that, what I'm dealing with health-wise, they labeled as fibromyalgia originally. Now it is fibromyalgia, well, but it was caused by something else. Um, I'm hypermobile and I'm developing arthritis because I'm not going to actually do it because my joints are all inflamed, but I have something called Ehlers-Danlos, and I don't even know what type yet or anything like that, but I've got lots of stuff going on internally, autoimmune, fibromyalgia, all that systemic stuff because of the stress, I think, stress and trauma, and because of the Ehlers-Danlos. So I'm trying to get over the trauma, but it's hard when there's so much more work to do still, and I really do have pretty bad trauma. Like, I'm not getting into details about anything right now, but I get flashbacks all the time of just places that I was, you know, on the SkyTrain in Vancouver, stressed out, late for work, hungover, you know, trying to get money and groceries. Well, I just have flashbacks from Vancouver a lot. I live in Victoria now, but the 2.5, 3 years that we spent in Vancouver, it was really stressful for us, and we were not ready for that. And we put up a good fight, but the entire thing was a battle to survive. So 2 little babies and no help at that time. So my husband and I were alternating work and the kids, and it was just no rest at all other than, you know, at night when we'd have drinks, you know, because we were so incredibly stressed to the max. So I got flashbacks from that. More than anything, sometimes I get flashbacks from earlier on too in my life when I dropped out in grade 9. Yeah. I was overwhelmed. I was smart. I was on the honor roll, and things were going on at home too much, and I got stressed out, and I kind of shut down, and I started failing, and I couldn't handle that. It really upset me. And I also tried out for the musical, and I didn't get in, and you know, there was a favorite group that got cast in the musicals. I wasn't in the favorite club. I wasn't one of the star kids. I tried to be. I was pretty well liked, but I was actually so well liked that it overwhelmed me because I needed my alone time, and I was never used to being that liked. I was used to being bullied and having 1 or 2 friends, and yeah, high school overstimulated me, and nobody was really there to sort of identify that, and stuff was going on at home. So yeah, I left in grade 9. I tried to do homeschool, but I was just too restless, and I eventually did go back and get a couple of my 11 courses, so I think on paper it's 11. I'm not even sure. I haven't looked at the transcripts for a long time. But, yeah, I lived in my friend's mom's basement for a while. I was dating somebody 7 years older than me. You know, I'd basically run away from home because I didn't want to go into a group home or anything like that. But, you know, I used my intelligence to get through, and it was a complete pseudo performance of having grown up. So when I was 18 and I moved back in with my dad, that's why I went crazy, rebellious, and then that antidepressant that was erroneously given to me, you know, 4 times. 4 times. I was in the Emerge, and not once did they think, maybe something's wrong with this girl, you know, maybe they're her something, you know, pervasive development or whatever, but they don't even think about that. They don't even think about that for females. always has to be a mood disorder or a personality disorder. Can never just, so like what? You don't think females can be autistic? Yeah. We have such a long way to go, and that's why I have to continue to blog and do what I'm doing, despite how I feel. I think I'm going to get better soon. It's just a question of, unfortunately, trying to get my book out there, my poetry book, to sell so that I can make a bit of the extra money. Those specialized chiro treatments, they're not cheap. When it adds up, I'm supposed to be seen a couple times a week at least, and it's not. It's over my head right now in terms of affordability. And just to go on a bit of a gentle cleanse and eat the real glycemically controlled way, lots of protein, and get the exercise going, because I've become really weak, and like I will walk and do a bit of core, but I'm thinking about starting some Pilates. I think that would be a good idea. I'm on one medication now for neuropathic pain, and I have to take quite a bit of it because the neuropathic pain was so bad, particularly in my head and neck area. I gotta slowly get off the medication because it makes me more tired and makes my balance a bit more off. And although it does help the nerve pain, if the nerve pain, the source of it's treated, because my alignment is really off. Series of x-rays finally proved that to my doctor. Once he saw the x-rays, it was the first time that he actually didn't, shut me down and, it conclude that I'm trying to make myself sick and trying to be a whiner and complain. It's the first time, and it was a huge, victory for me, and maybe I was a bit mad, but it was like, see here, I told you so, I'm in pain, right? Because I had a series of x-rays of my neck and my spine, and there's a lot of areas where it's out, and like subluxation, as they call it, especially the vertebra that this 1 and 2, C1, C2 vertebra where my skull meets my neck. So I'd have to have very gentle, careful kinds of adjustments for that, not just even like neck cracking, but anyway, that's especially because I am hypermobile and soft tissue. So yeah, I've got to find a way to fix that. I guess in time too. My rheumatologist did order a close-up, so in the meantime, I'm just trying to stretch it gently and, keep on with things. And, I'm pretty strong-spirited, so I'm sure it'll all work out, but it's not easy considering that I've had to deal with something recent that I'm going to write about and talk about when I feel ready to do so. Just a real sort of big bump in the road, genuinely shitty as it was at the time, and how as much as it threw me for a loop and had me have a near breakdown. I'm all right now, and I'm coming back up from that. So anyway, I've said enough, and I'm coming back here, and yeah, I'm gonna keep writing and keep speaking out about autism and connecting as much as I can, without also going to my own little autistic world myself, because I need to do that, and be a mama and everything else. As usual, I'm in a semi-processed whirlwind of stuff, and I'm sure it'll all work out. Sometimes I don't know if I'm in as much control as I think I am anyways. Love and light.